and welcome to another episode of Gas Mask Reader. This time around, I'm going to talk about an actually new book that I think just came out last month, or might have been the month before. It's called Sanitarium by Chet Williamson. Now, I picked this book up for a couple reasons. Number one, Chet Williamson is a local author to me, and he was doing a signing at my local Barnes & Noble. So, that makes it hard to pass up, especially since I've actually read and enjoyed some of his older books, like Dreamthorpe, which was a horror novel about a small town that got attacked by ancient evil forces. And there was Murder in Cormyr, which is a fantasy mystery set in the world of Dungeons and Dragons Forsaken Realms universe. Don't normally read that kind of thing, but I picked it up when I did a local signing, and I actually really liked it. And I do like fantasy mysteries, but I don't really read Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Also, I read Soulstorm, which was a haunted house story about a rich man who locks a bunch of people into a haunted house for evil reasons. Also a fairly good book. Yeah, I've got quite a few other ones, but I'm not going to go through them all. Well, another reason I picked this up is because it's a sequel to Psycho, a classic book by Robert Bloch, which was adapted into an even more classic movie by Alfred Hitchcock. I've never actually seen the movie, but I've heard it's really good, and I know I really should see it. But it's not available for streaming on Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu, so I haven't seen it because I'll spend lots of money on books and pops. You can probably see up there and over there. But movies, I don't like to spend a lot of money. Now, before I actually get into talking any further about the book, let's have a quick reading of the first page.
How's that? How's that, you godforsaken monster? Myron Gunn, the head attendant, shoved the doughy man down onto the bed with all his prodigious strength. The man's head hit the padding on the wall, and his face twitched, but that was the only reaction he made. His stubby-fingered hands fell to his side, his head drooped on his thick neck, and his gaze locked once again on the floor. "What's the matter, Norman?" Myron said. "Did you bump your little head? Maybe Mama can help, huh? Mama kiss it and make it better. You want to let Mama out, huh? Yeah, I'd like to meet her. Like to put a little fear of God into her." A small cushioned chair sat under a table with rounded corners, and Myron pulled it out and perched on it, leaning toward the man, who sat silently and still. "I know what you are, you miserable little faker," Myron said softly. "You and your double identity crap. You are a killer. Satan got into you, boy. Not your dead mama. Satan made you what you are. He made you a murdering monster."
As you can see by that, the book starts off with Norman Bates in the mental hospital. And spoiler alert, if you haven't actually read Psycho or seen the movie, it ends with him in the mental hospital, because basically, here's a quick summary of Psycho. If you haven't read or seen the 50-year-old book or movie, well, you should. Or you can turn it off and go do that now. I don't care. But it's about Norman Bates, who runs the Bates Motel. He is crazy as a loon. He has basically in the past murdered his mother, had her stuffed, corpse sitting in a wheelchair, and believes that she tells him what to do from beyond the grave. Which causes him to murder a hotel guest and a detective who was investigating the hotel guest who he murdered, because she had actually run off with a large sum of money from a previous employer. And then, Norman gets caught and gets sent to the mental hospital for criminally insane, because he is criminally insane. Robert Bloch, who wrote the original Psycho, also wrote two sequels. The second one, Psycho 2, begins 20 years later with Norman escaping from the mental hospital. So this one is an authorized sequel written by someone else, set between the two, so the entire thing takes place with Norman in a mental hospital. In fact, it starts off kind of slow because it's in a mental hospital. It's mostly getting the feel for the place, and it's, mental hospital for the criminally insane, and there's some not very nice people there not all of whom are patients. Norman Bates himself is pretty much comatose because he's locked inside his own mind trying to keep Mother from getting out. Eventually his doctor, Dr. Reed, and a very nice nurse named Nurse Marie, managed to bring him out enough that he's willing to talk to those two at least. And then soon afterwards, Dr. Reed introduces Norman to his long-lost brother, Robert Newman, who Norman had never heard of and didn't know existed. Soon after that, people start dying. In fact, mostly people who were a threat to Norman. Starting with a rapist who had been imprisoned in the mental hospital because he was pretending to be insane because he figured mental hospital was better than prison. And, a few other people who threatened Norman die too, and Norman begins to believe that his brother is responsible. But Dr. Reed assures him that that's not possible because, his brother can't possibly be getting in to the insane asylum to kill people because it's a maximum security facility for the criminally insane, so you can't really get in or out. And of course, there's lots of spoilers and twists. I'm not going to get into the spoilers, but there's lots of two major plot twists about that I really enjoyed and didn't see coming. One about one of the victims and the other one about who the killer is, because you don't find out who the killer really is until the end. And I admit I did not see who the killer was until right before they revealed it. So it actually surprised me, which is fairly rare. And also very enjoyable. Now, I thought this was a really great book. In fact, reading it, I thought it would actually read a lot like a slasher movie from an older one that was well written almost. In fact, I think this would make a really good slasher movie. Way better than any of the actual sequels to Psycho because they were not very good. It's Psycho the movie. The second sequel to the Psycho the book was pretty good. I mean, the first sequel, Psycho 2. Second sequel, Psycho House, was not very good. But none of this, mostly because Alfred Hitchcock wasn't directing them, I suppose. In any case, I would definitely recommend this book to anybody that likes a good horror novel, with, especially ones that don't have supernatural elements. And it would also probably be good for people who like mysteries or thrillers, or anyone who enjoyed the original Psycho, the movie or the book. So, be sure and check out a copy because it's a good book. And I should have another video up in the next couple of days again. This time it will probably be a fantasy novel because I happen to have gotten a review copy of a very short fantasy novel that arrived just yesterday, and I'm sure I'll be finishing it today or tomorrow and have the video up soon.
If you like this video, please click subscribe or watch some of my older videos. If you think the book I reviewed sounds interesting, buy a copy. There are always links to the Amazon store in the description for this book and any other books I mentioned. If you have any suggestions on other books I could read, or any other comments, queries, insults, or anything else you want to say, please feel free to mention it in the comments section.